Welcome to the first ever Friday night live edition of Back to the Bullpen. Myself and Mike Stanton are going to break down the last two games. Why? Because the Astros have won these two games, and they looked good in all phases of the game. Sound baseball, fundamentals, hitting with runners on base, and the pitchers doing their job. Let's get started right now. Mark Drew, hit that intro.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That is right. We are here with another edition of Back to the Bullpen. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Look, you can find us at Back to the Bullpen on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iHeartRadio. I mean, everywhere. We have gone global. Mike Stanton, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Well, unfortunately, there's only one place you can find me on social media, and that's on X, and it's Mike Stanton 29, the old 2-9er.
That's right. This is Mr. Stanton, and hey, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you saw this, but I was Teacher of the Year runner-up 2 years in a row.
What?
Yeah, runner-up. I didn't actually win the award.
We got to put that on your bio, man.
On my resume.
There you go.
Mike is second all time in appearances by a major league pitcher in Major League Baseball history. He was also an all-star, and he also has World Series rings. And you know, Mike, one of the things that I love about talking with you about baseball is as a relief pitcher, you have this complete understanding, not only of the pitching side, but the hitting side, because you had to learn the hitters. You had to study the hitters. You had to learn how to attack them. And these last two wins, the Astros, even though the win in New York was kind of by the skin of their teeth, and tonight's win is a little bit more commanding because of the 4-run rally in the eighth that Jordan started. But both of these games, for the most part, went the way that the Astros games have almost gone all season.
Well, I mean, I think the thing that you have to look at is that the bullpen in both games did their job. The game in New York last night, you had Abreu come in. He was very good. Presley struggled a little bit, and then Hader had to come, but he did get a couple outs, and then Hader had to come in for the 4-out save. And he did get a base runner in the ninth, but, the way the Yankees were playing, that's what it was going to take. It was going to be a nail-biter to beat that team. And then tonight, well, listen, they were losing all the way up to the 8th inning. I mean, we got to tell the truth here, and they had the big 4 spot, but that's why you play 27 outs. And we've seen this time and time again from this Astros team in the past is, they don't really beat up on starting pitchers per se all that much.
Right.
They beat up on bullpens, and you got to remember this bullpen for the Tigers. This is one of the best bullpens in the American League. This is not a pushover team. AJ Hinch has these dudes playing very, very good baseball, and Casey Mize really stymied this Astros offense. Came in with a little bit of momentum, had a good flight because you won that last game in New York to avoid the sweep. You end the losing streak. Okay, that's great. But Casey was very good. But listen, that's why you have to play. You have to play all 9 innings. And the Astros were able to put something together. Like you said, started with Jordan there in the 8th inning. You get the 4 spot. Then you go back to the bullpen again.
Yeah.
Both Abreu and Hader both pitched last night. Both pitched well tonight. So, hey, I don't know if we can say they're changing yet, but we can see what the potential of this team can be.
Well, like I've talked about before, you can look at the expected numbers. Like I think we talked last time about how you had Hader and you had Presley, who had these really low expected ERAs, but they had high regular ERAs. Mm-hmm. And what that pointed to was they were just getting unlucky. And there have been so many games where, and I think now they're 2-9 in 1-run games. Tonight luckily wasn't a 1-run game. They ended up winning 5-2 because of that 4 spot. And they were only 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. There were 6 left on base. It wasn't a flawless victory, but in a season where you are struggling and you're 14-24, now you're only 10 games under 500, you look for anything for improvement. And Alex Bregman today, Alex Bregman was 1 for 4 in his last 3 games. He's hitting 250. And I'll take a 250 hitting Alex Bregman with the double and 3 hits over what we've seen all season, because we've talked about him being a classic slow starter. But Mike, his slow start has been almost epic in the eyes of Alex Bregman. So it's all about the dinks and the dunks. Look, sometimes it's about being lucky, putting the ball up the middle. Jeremy Pena today. I mean, this guy, you know what? I don't want to get into the offense too much because I want you to talk about Ronel Blanco, just him and Fromber. How good is it to have Ronel Blanco, and then right after him, you got Fromber Valdez, and Fromber comes out and looks good?
Well, I mean, Fromber was very good tonight. Goes 7 strong, gives up the 2 runs. But I thought that he was on top of his game. It looked like he made some mechanical adjustments. We saw a lot more pitches on the outside part of the plate. And when you're a heavy sinker ball pitcher like he's supposed to be, that's where the ball is going to sink the most. We didn't see him pull that 2-seam fastball inside on right-handers like we saw so much last year. So it looks like he has made a little bit of an adjustment. And same thing with Bregman. Listen, Bregman's a good player. He's in the contract year. Everybody thought he was going to have a huge season. And he could still have a good season. There's no doubt about that. But, this whole team, and Bregman's just kind of a microcosm of what this whole team has been. High expectations, which how I feel about that word. That's one of the dirty words in baseball. That word would be expectations. Because if you meet expectations, you did what you're supposed to do. No big deal. If you don't, well, now, things can run off the tracks pretty quickly.
Exactly.
But and that's and so that I'm not really ready to say, okay, this team is on a roll yet, but they're playing better baseball. And what you're really seeing is you're seeing their confidence grow. And that's what's going to be scary to the rest of the American League.
And they are playing better as of late. I mean, if you take all the series, you take the Yankees series, and I know they lost those first 2. Maybe you take that last Yankees game, you take the Guardians series, overall, there's a lot better baseball being played. And here's some interesting things. I know tonight they went down 2 innings in a row on only 8 pitches. And Casey Mize was a little wild. The umpires were giving him a little bit of help here and there. But I looked up some offensive numbers today, Mike. Get this. The Astros lead in fewest strikeouts in the entire league, only 243. This was going into tonight. They're 4th in hits going into tonight with 330, 9th in on-base percentage with 324, 7th in home run, 4th in batting average, 258, but they're 15th in runs. Mm-hmm. So they're top 10 in all these categories, but once you get runs and I didn't find the risk, that is where they have lacked. They have been getting hits. They have been hitting the ball. They have been getting on base, and it happened early on where Bregman got a double. You're like, all right, good job, Breg. He got on second. Well, what happens? 1, 2, 3 outs, and he's stranded on second. And eventually that stuff has to change because the law of averages in baseball always catches up to you. It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember back to Tyler White's rookie season when he hit the league, he was batting like 568 in like the first month.
Oh, I remember. He was player of the month. He was player of the week the first week.
Yes. Yeah. And he was killing it. And then and it was just like I haven't seen a ship sink that fast ever. But that's the thing with baseball and with these Astros, they are veterans. And I really think the offense and the defense is a key thing. And what I want to talk about before we get to Singleton and before we get to his defense and offense, I want to tell y'all, go to ramshirts.com. You can actually scan the QR code. You can get one of these really cool shirts that we have here, Back to the Bullpen with Mike and Brett. Got our logo on the back. So check that out, Ram Shirts. The shirts are not very expensive at all. Tell Mark that we sent you. And then if you need to get a fresh cut, if you need to get those edges trimmed, and look, man, well, I'm not going to take my hat off because I'm always wearing one of my 100 hats, right, Mike? I've got hat hair constantly, but when I need to get cleaned up, when I need to go out and have fun with the friends, I go to State of the Art Barbershop. And this is what you do. When you find the State of the Art Barbershop, there is an app you can go to. It's called, let me give you the address here. Look up State of the Art Barbershop. Okay. It is VAGARO, and you type that in. And then when you sign up for your haircut, okay, go to this app. When you sign up, use the code B2B, and you'll get a 10% off of your next haircut. And
there you go.
That we sent you. Use the code B2B and get the Vigaro app. I always say it wrong. The Vigaro app on your iPhone or on your Android?
Android. Yes.
Do you have an Apple, right?
No.
You have an Android?
I am an Android user. Absolutely.
Mike, we didn't discuss this before we started the show.
No, we did not. We did not.
Wow.
Yes, I am on the dark side, or maybe you're on the dark side. I don't know, whichever side.
I don't know. Man, we might have to hit the table. We might have to hit the negotiation table again. I didn't realize you're an Android guy. You know what though?
Always have been, never had. Now, everyone in my family. No,
Really?
That's not true. My oldest son is also an Android user.
Okay. Wow.
Now he's converted because he was an Apple and he went to Android. Yeah.
What has his life been easier or tougher? Because I hear it's tougher.
Well, I'm very proud of him. He actually just recently, a couple months ago, got out of the Air Force. So I don't know what that has to do with his phone, but hey, I want to throw that out there.
There you go. Well, hey, man.
Hey, you know what though? I did not talk about Ronel Blanco.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So where would the Astros be without Ronel? Well, who freaking knows? Because he's 4-0. Now, going into tonight's game, Astros only had 13 wins. He had 30% of the Astros wins. And a couple of the wins, he had the no-hitter, followed it, had the one-hitter. Then I think he had a two-hitter also.
Right.
But he has just been so consistently good. And I know one of the questions you talked about it before before we went on, is he an all-star? Absolutely, he's an all-star. For the team that has struggled like the Astros have, there's not a long list. Altuve has been outstanding. Pena has been very good. There's a couple guys that are going to be in consideration, but it's not like we've seen in the past where it's basically the whole lineup is going to be has a chance of being an all-star. And Blanco is absolutely one of those because, this guy has meant the world to the Astros. And yeah, they're 10 games under 500, but where would they be without Ronel Blanco?
It's huge. He is, and I don't really want to compare the two because I don't want to take anything away from, this isn't to take away from JP France's year last year because JP France was one of the constants on that pen. On that staff last year, but I think he may have the ability to have almost an even deeper effect on this team just because he seems like he has an even higher upside than France does. And I know from the beginning, they were talking about getting him in there as a starter. And all this work that he's done in the offseason down in the Dominican League and all that stuff has really helped him. It has been a big help to him. He is a calming presence. I saw on his social media last night, apparently he had a lot of family in New York, a lot of friends, and he's just a regular guy. I've talked to him all off season in and out of, DMs on, Instagram and stuff. And he's always like, man, that was a good game. And I'm like, man, that was great. And he's like, thank you so much for the support. Like, he just loves knowing that he's doing something for this ball club. And he loves knowing that all his hard work has paid off. And so you got him. Let's shift gears to Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
Singleton has really come full circle. This is a guy who got paid before he played.
He did.
He got hit with a stinking, drug violation, which now the drug violation he got hit with probably wouldn't bear as much weight or penalty now today as it did back then. It wasn't this big bad thing, but it was really, for him, it was detrimental. So he had to play in the Mexican League. He had to find his way back. Milwaukee picks him up. They DFA him. The Astros pick him up, and everybody's like, wait, John Singleton's playing with the Astros again?
Right.
And then he starts killing it in AAA, and you're like, is there a chance this dude can come back? And then, unfortunately, Jose Abreu gets shipped off to Florida. And so Singleton, where I had been calling at the beginning of the year, Mike, honestly, I was like, we need to DFA Singleton because he's not getting a chance. We're not going to let him play. What's the point of having him on this roster? If he's not going to play, he's just filling a spot. Well, Abreu leaves and they kept him. And what do you know? Regular playing time kind of helps a guy. And,
Well, I mean, it's been such a long and winding road for John.
It has.
Was a big time prospect. Like you said, the Astros gave him a contract before he ever made it to the major leagues. And then it was just lack of performance. Then he had the suspension, and it was just a winding road to get back. And, this guy's north of 30 years old now.
Right.
I mean, you're not talking about a spring chicken, but everything you're seeing from him now, all the character that he has, the approach that he has, that all is coming from the experiences he's had in life.
Yeah.
And I think he's done, resiliency. I mean, just everything you can think of, and you can see it when he talks. I mean, we always say, we talk about rookies, sometimes rookies, they struggle or whatever. They're just happy to be there. John Singleton's just happy to be there. Now he's had so much water under the bridge. He knows that the chance that he's gotten was really unseen. He got this opportunity because of the extenuating circumstances with Jose Abreu, but he has, he's bided his time, and now he's doing everything you would ask him to do. There was a question whether he was going to make the team coming out of spring training. Yeah. There were two things that were really working for him. The first one is the Astros really needed a left-handed bat off the bench. Okay. They did not have really anybody that could drive the ball, a power bat. And then the other one was he was out of options. And, the Astros didn't want to try and send him down because he was going to have to go through waivers. Then you don't know if somebody's going to claim him or what's going to happen in those situations. And, he ends up making the team and just doing whatever the Astros have asked him to do. But he has been, listen, the sample size is small. Okay. You're only talking about 8 or 9 games or so.
Right.
But he has been outstanding.
Yes.
And he's been in the middle of many of these rallies. Even him making the team last year in the postseason, he probably has the most important base on balls in Astros history.
Yeah,
there in the postseason last year.
Yeah.
So it's such a great story. Everything that he's been through, all the trials and tribulations, but that is exactly what has made him the ball player that he is today.
It's funny. Linda asked the question, do we think Singleton has a shot if he keeps hitting these bombs? I think he has a shot to stay on this team, even if you just flash the leather. And that's what he's done. I mean, if he doesn't make a pick or two in that Yankees game, the Yankees win the game. I mean, it was
the play-by hater.
Yeah. And it was kind of reminiscent of the Trey Mancini pick at first base against the Phillies.
True.
In the World Series. That would have changed the whole World Series right there. And so those key defensive plays, and that unfortunately you don't get that with Jose Abreu. He's never been, defense at first has never been his stamp. He hasn't been terrible, but look, playing first base defensively is not easy. And that's why when guys like Bagwell do it, it's
not easy to play it well.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. It is a, that's why first and third are called the hot corners. That's why growing up, when I saw Ken Caminiti snag a ball going outside of the white line, get up on his knees and throw a runner out at first before he even got to the dirt in the Astrodome around first base. I mean, that's real skill. And to see Singleton make some of these snags, that is real skill. And I noticed that he's ultra patient at the plate, but he's become more aggressive because remember, like he was looking at a lot of stuff. He's actually become less selective, but his swings are coming at the right time for the most part.
Well, he's always been, I mean, even in the minor leagues, it's one of the reasons why the Astros gave him the contract before he ever came up, because, they were good. They felt like, you know what, this dude's going to at least be on base because he had a very good eye at the plate and he didn't really expand. But, I think part of the maturation process that he's, it's taken him so long to get through and where he is now is that he realizes that it doesn't have to be the perfect pitch for me to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He is a big, strong dude. And when he hits it, it's going to go a long way. And, there are times, this was the knock on Ted Williams, was that Ted Williams refused to swing out of the zone. And there were pitches at times that he could have driven in runs. He could have helped the team.
Wow.
But he would not swing out of the zone. And I think you see John, not that he's Ted Williams, but you see John that has that great eye at the plate, that there are times that, okay, maybe it's not the perfect pitch, but that's still something that I can do damage on.
And, I started thinking about this tonight for some reason, because I have been to several Space Cowboys games. I'm actually going to go cover the Space Cowboys game Sunday because Urquidy and Chas McCormick are going to be making rehab starts. And that's good to get one of your other outfielders back and another pitcher back because the Astros need pitching. But if that ABS system ever comes up, that'll be so good for these guys that do, because Bregman looked at a couple balls that they called strikes. Tucker looked at a couple balls that were clear. I mean, couple balls and were called strikes clear. And maybe it'll help in that aspect. I don't know. I'm not fully on board with it, but I'm trying to find the silver lining because we know eventually it's going to come.
Well, I don't know about, actually calling every pitch balls and strikes. I understand every bad call just puts us that much closer to that situation. I think that where Major League Baseball goes first is the challenge system. Is that, if there's a call, and listen, Bregman's going to do it all the time because he's got such an amazing eye at the plate. If the ball is a half an inch off the plate, he says it is, guess what? It's a half an inch off the plate. And I think that I like that idea because if you watch it in the minor leagues, the challenge system, it's instantaneous. There is no time spent whatsoever. Right. And, then you have to figure out how many challenges do you get. The rules are that if you get the challenge right, you don't lose the challenge. You get another one. So I like that idea because then it also keeps the human factor of the umpires in the game. Right. They're not going to be quite as, they're not going to be quite as against maybe the automated strike zone. But hey, it's coming, but who knows when it's actually going to get here.
Well, I'm sitting there thinking maybe Bregman Bregman and Tucker, if they're still on the same team when it gets here, they're gonna have to rock, paper, scissors for who gets all the challenges because they're both gonna win a challenge. Chris has a question here, Mike, and I want to see what your thoughts are on this. He says, what does Dubon and Loperfido have to do to get more playing time? And he says he's over the Jake Myers experience. So take Jake Myers out of the picture, but what does Loperfido or Dubon have to do to get more playing time on the field?
Well, listen, just same thing we talked about just a second ago with John Singleton. The question was, can he stick at first base? If he hits, if he plays well, he's going to stay there. There's no reason, and it's the same thing in the outfield. It's a little different with Dubon because, his real value is in his ability to play all over everywhere. And so that's why you kind of want to keep him on the bench or in that role, just simply because having a player that can do what Mauricio can do. There's just not very many guys that can do it and play each position well. As far as Loperfido, he's going to have to produce a little bit more. He's going to have to get a few more looks. It's one of those things that if he can get hot, and that's what it's going to take, listen, how did Lou Gehrig take over first base for the Yankees? It was an off day. He got, and the player's name was Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp was the starter, and he took a day off. Lou Gehrig goes in there. He hits a home run, gets a couple hits. He's in there the next day. Then guess what? He never comes back out of the game. He ends up setting the all-time record of games played in a row. So it's just going to be one of those situations. When he gets his opportunity, he's going to have to capitalize. We haven't seen the power from Loperfido yet. It's going to happen, but I thought his last couple games that we're seeing more bat speed. But listen, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get used to big league pitching and get used to the big league life, get used to the extra, the extra deck on the stadium, and it all plays into it. But he's going to get his shot. There's no doubt.
Now, I've never played in a major league stadium. Obviously, you have. The closest thing I've ever come to in my life was in 2023 opening day, taking the flag out onto the field. The stadium was
the big one.
Big flag.
Covers the outfield. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
We got invited, and I was standing over by the Crawford boxes. Actually, Eric was the runner. I'm glad I wasn't the runner. I probably would have been the guy that fell. But when we pull that flag tight, a little flag trivia, like I'm holding on and I'm leaning back with all my weight. I mean, this flag is so heavy. But I felt like I was like, America, I was like wanting to shoot fireworks from my hands. And
that's actually without the A. It's just America.
America. Yeah. America. Well, when I walked out on the field, the reason why I say this, and I looked up, and I had never seen Minute Maid Park from that perspective, and it was a sold out crowd. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to boo another major league player. How do they come out here on this field and perform? Not only perform now, but in the playoffs and in the pressure moments. I mean, and then I thought back to Game 6 of the World Series. My son and I were up in the upper deck. Imagine being the pitcher that delivered that home run to Fromber. It just like it is so. It's just overwhelming. And I think we forget that as fans. We expect, because what we see is a regular guy. He's killing at AAA. Of course he's going to go, because we saw Jordan go to the pros. Well, Bregman started 0 for 27 in his professional career. And so you're right. He's got to get comfortable. He's got to get into it. But you also want to make sure you don't put Loperfido in tough situations. And it's probably going to be a matchup thing, I think, for him going in, when he's in the lineup, and they're going to look at the analytics. Hey, how does this guy do against lefties? Does he give up a lot and stuff like that? So I think he'll get his time. But I like where we're going in this Detroit series, Mike, because we've got Christian Javier coming back, and we've got Justin Verlander making yet another start in Detroit. I mean, this is going to be an exciting series.
Yeah, Skubal I can't remember his first name. It's like Tarek. I think Tarek Skubal.
Tarek or Tyrek. Yeah.
I he's pitching for the Tigers tomorrow, and this dude is very, very good.
He is very good.
Astros, listen, Christian Javier is going to have to be on top of his game, because they're probably, now I'm going to say this, it'll probably be a 10-9 game, but there's not going to be very many runs scored tomorrow. And you look at the Astros bullpen. Okay, it may be a little short with Abreu and Hader going back-to-back days. But you know what? At this point, if I'm Joe Espada, if I'm Josh Miller, if I'm Josh Hader, or even Brian Abreu, you got to win baseball games.
Yeah.
If you have a chance, and this is something that this generation, it has changed. They protect these guys a lot more than they did, 10, definitely more than 20 years ago when I was pitching. And what I mean by that, listen, Joe Torre used to tell us, he goes, listen, if you need an off day, do not put on your spikes and do not go to the bullpen, because if you do, I might use you. So, so,
Ah,
so it was one of those things, we had, we go back, last year was the 25th anniversary of arguably the best team to ever take the field. And that was the 1998 New York Yankees.
right.
We went 125-50 that year.
Wow.
Yeah, 75 games over 500. We had a motto, and the motto was real for everybody on the field except the starting pitchers, and it was play today, win today. That was
Mm,
it. That was it. And what that meant was everybody's going to do whatever it would take. And if I've pitched the last three days in a row, guess what? You need me, I'm probably going to be available to go out there. They don't do that anymore. They
right.
protect these guys. They want to stay away from the injuries, and I completely understand that. But in the situation the Astros are in, 10 games under 500 and looking to try and get on a little bit of a roll here. And with tomorrow, if they win tomorrow, that'll be their first 3-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. You got to win today.
And against a solid pitcher too. That would be great.
Yes.
Let me just wrap it up with this, because Linda brings up a good point, and I almost forgot to say this. Kyle Tucker now leads the American League in home runs with 12.
Yeah, he does.
He's tied with Osuna, who is down in Atlanta, who's killing the ball like he always does. But she's asking, do you think the Astros will extend Tucker? And I'll say this before you give me your answer, or maybe what you think. I think out of the Bregman, Valdez, and Tucker, to me, Tucker makes the most sense because of where he is in his career, what he offers, his position. I know third base is a harder position to replace, but the 5 toolness and I think the health of Tucker has really, I think, goes a long way. And what you're going to get out of him probably for most of his career. What do you think? Do you think Tucker stands a chance, or are we still like, there's just no way of knowing right now?
Well, there's always a chance until there's not.
True.
Okay. But I do think that's going to be a hard sell. He's been through arbitration and lost. There's a lot of players, and I'm not saying Tucker is one of them, but there's
Right.
a lot of players that take that personally. I've actually been through the arbitration process all the way through, including the hearing, and it can be brutal. But so until he is no longer an Astro, there's always a chance. I just think that's going to be a tough sell. The thing is, Tucker, his price tag has been nothing but going up and up and up.
That's true.
Every home run he hits, every guy he throws out from right field. And he's free agency's right around the corner. It's not all that far. Now, he's not in his free agent year, so that does help him. That gives the Astros a little bit more time to negotiate. But I don't think there's going to be a hometown discount. You're going to have to give him what he's worth, and I just don't know if Jim Crane is willing to write that check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. But I think for right now, we can definitely point to a lot more positive than negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said last time, it's too early. We're not selling. We're not trading. No one's losing their job anytime soon. It's just, look, we got to stay the course. And if they put their nose to the grindstone, this team does have it in them to do a great job on the field. Mike, thank you for joining us. Look, hey, man, crowd, thank you for joining us. Mike, we've got 50 people watching us live, our first Friday Night Live edition. And look, my mom, Judy Krebs, hopped in. She said, I also love this show. So there's my mom to check it out. She's a big fan of Ryan.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Hey, happy Mother's Day here in just a couple.
Oh, yeah, it is. Oh man, you kept me out of trouble there.
There you go.
Thank you. Actually, now I think I'm in trouble because I recognize I'm in trouble. No, actually, my Mother's Day gift to her was last week. We went to the game Sunday. She got to meet Ryan Stanek. She got the autograph.
There you go. Nice.
And hey, my guy from Solo Thought Sports just dropped in. So look, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. This has been a great time. We are going to spend some more time next podcast, probably diving into stuff around the league. Of course, we're always going to talk about the Astros.
Sure.
We got some good feedback. We know there's a lot of y'all out there that watch the entire league. And so we're going to do that. And happy Mother's Day to everybody. And look, there you go, Mom. You got, they're calling you Mama Wheelhouse now. And
there it is.
And Shalonda showed up. Look, we got all the regulars here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one. Let's go get a third game in a row. Let's go take
That is called a winning streak.
That's right. We won yesterday. We won today. We win tomorrow. That's a win streak.
That's right.
Not to quote.
Hey, all the ladies out there that have children, even if they're fur babies, happy Mother's Day. Everyone have a happy and safe Mother's Day. And let's root these guys on. Hey, listen, we appreciate everybody coming on and watching and listening. Yeah. We need more people. Y'all need to spread the word of Back to the Bullpen podcast.
That's right. And to my daughter too, for my grandson, Ethan, and she's an awesome mom. So Emmeline, happy Mother's Day to you and everybody. Y'all have a good one. This has been a great show. Y'all take it easy, and we'll see you next time when we go back to the bullpen.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home.